Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and this is Our World of Darkness and our 600 subscriber special, where today we're going to be doing a interview with a cast member, as we've been. That's what we've been doing for these with these milestones. And today I have Daviga31, who is the player of Sam Heron, of the best character, Sam Heron, your friendly neighborhood hacker drug dealer.
Street pharmacist.
Street pharmacist.
And producer, not dealer.
Sorry, there's terms. Technically, he only sells weed, so he's a florist. No, he sells everything. He's a
multifaceted piece of scum.
So the way that we've been doing this is we have a list of questions that have been presented by the community. And I mean, you saw Serendipity's and you saw David's.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing that we need to ask is, what do you want to tell us about the player behind the fangs? What do you want us to know about Daviga31?
I'm a recovering Tremere player. I mean, you know that. And I was trying very hard with the concept on this character to keep me away from blood sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did this Alice thing, and now I've got blood sorcery.
You could have
again.
not.
So could I have?
Yeah, you could have.
Could I have? I think you're asking too much of my player willpower at that point.
Yeah, maybe.
So now everything's doomed.
Now, speaking of that, though, you were... I talked about this on an earlier video a while ago, but you were actually quoted in one of the World of Darkness V20 books.
Yeah.
For your character, Dr. North, who was the Tremere Regent of Fort Myers, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That was very interesting, being the storyteller of Dr. North and seeing you pop up in a World of Darkness book was pretty freaking cool.
Well, you know, people should be careful when you have a door in the attic that leads to the satellite.
That's very true.
You just don't leave that hanging open. You got to make sure and close that, or the cat will get out.
Yeah. This one right here had decided that instead of following the standard day-night sleep cycles that vampires have, that he was going to spend all the money that he could on...
Well, he had resources 5.
Putting a satellite into space, which this is actually something you could do if you have enough money.
Notes on that. Yeah, it's about moving things into orbit. The thing people don't appreciate is it's the weight that's the problem, because you have to get it moving so freaking fast, and it runs something around $50,000 a kilo.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have mirror walk, all you need to do is shoot a mirror up there, establish that in order, and then you can just shove everything else through that.
Yeah.
So he had his little asteroid.
So using his money and his thaumaturgy, he created basically a Tremere
space program.
Tremere space chantry that he was able to go to during the day to avoid the sun.
Although, in point of fact, if you're up in the space chantry, you only have like a 20-minute working day before you flip around to the other side of the planet and stay at the time again. He was staying awake mostly by taking a ride over to Perth and dropping down in Australia and staying there until it was daytime in Fort Myers again. What? Nobody was ever going to.
This is what I deal with.
Oh, and it's going to be just as bad.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the kind of stuff that Sam's going to do. Truthfully, with your
he's a little more local. He doesn't have teleportation of any sort. I mean, that's something.
I think that actually fits well with this plotline that we're running on Thicker Than Water, because originally I was very much into the high fantasy, high storytelling kind of stuff, and now we're a little bit more grounded.
Yeah, it's kind of relaxing because I no longer have to do assessments like, well, if the storyteller turns the world into a new ice age because of this plotline that's running on, how long can I hang on in the satellite before the power gives out?
I'm known as the Gehenna storyteller, unfortunately. Anything else about yourself you want to talk about? Because we just jumped back into Sam.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Recovering career player. I mean, I have trouble there without knowing what people would actually be interested in. I'm trying to think. What did Damien and...
Well, they basically just talked about like what they do for a living and stuff. Anything you really want to share about yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, in terms of that, I do work in IT. So when you see Sam pulling off all his awful hacking exploitation, there is some truth at least behind it. It's not all just roles in Hollywood.
Yeah, we do allow some weird things to get by simply for story, but for the most part,
some of that's
Daviga knows what he's doing
realistic,
when it comes to that
pretty
stuff.
realistic. Like the one-click phone exploits and all of the bitching he does about the surveillance state and da 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 da. There's some foundation in reality for that.
Very true. All right, so how long have you been playing role-playing games?
Let's see. Well, I mean, everybody could potentially say, well, ever since Bang Bang, You're Dead. No, I'm not. I've got a force shield. But in terms of books that are games that have books attached to them, I don't know. I don't even know rightly. Probably single-digit age is where I was introduced.
Okay.
I have a family background. I still have like first edition D&D games up on the shelf, as you know, and I'm currently running some people through a first edition dungeon in my other game.
Yeah. What's that one called again?
It's called The Tomb of Horrors. It is exactly what it says on the tin. And it's wonderful.
For those of you who don't know what The Tomb of Horrors is, it's literally Gygax.
It's a death trap.
It's literally Gygax getting all of his frustrations out in one manual and just killing people repeatedly.
But there is a point to it, because Gygax's frustration was having a bunch of what you have in D&D, murder hobo stuff going on. Characters that are built for combat, and they just face every problem by stabbing it. So he gave them a dungeon where you solve practically none of the problems by attacking them.
Yeah.
Everything is something other than combat. And you know what?
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that, and I do think that looking at my group that I'm working with, they're very modern D&D players, but they have that newer outlook rather than the old school one where you're thinking, okay, what rope do I bring? How much firewood do I have? And thinking the very, very, very low fantasy thing. How many rations are in the tent? How are we camping tonight? How do we keep the wind off? They're, like, what's the pluses on my axe kind of stuff is happening. But they're coming around. They're coming around very quickly.
That's cool.
And having a more overall holistic look at how their adventures go.
Very
so cool. I think that message has a place.
So, how long have you played at VTM?
Well, before I knew you. Before, back in Jacksonville, I still have my first character sheet. I really do. Well, actually, I think he was a Ventrue.
Oh, okay.
And then,
very cool.
And then after that was an unbroken succession of Tremere, right down to Sam, I think.
Nope. You played a Nosferatu.
Oh,
you played a Nosferatu for me.
I forgot about Leviathan. Leviathan was a
Levi.
Fun
Everybody called him Levi. His name was Leviathan.
It was a fun concept, definitely.
That was completely different from what I was hoping you were going to do.
What? Not a squid?
Yeah, he played a squid.
Basically.
His Nosferatu was nothing like... His body had, like, compressed so that he was just...
The fingers start where a finger normally would start, but every joint was elongated so much that, like, his palm was down here, and it was all fingers.
Yeah, it was...
He would crawl through the insulation in your house.
Yeah,
so
anything you could fit...
through the drywall.
Anything you could fit fingers through, he could fit through. It was nasty. My original idea... was for you too. When I was pushing you into playing Nos. Was I was really hoping you were going to bring in. I was really hoping you were going to bring in Morris Moss from the IT crowd as a Nosferatu.
I don't think I could carry that off.
Just the classic nerd hacker.
Yeah. Well, Sam's that plus asshole.
Yeah. So. No, Sam definitely does have the asshole thing going for him. So how did you get into VTM?
Well, like I said, it's been bloody well forever, but back in Jacksonville, my DM at the time actually introduced me to the game. I don't know where he dug it up, but and ran like one session of tabletop one time, took me to a LARP one session, and he kind of flaked out on a lot of things. But at that point, I at least knew what it was, so I got to later experiences with somewhat of a background in it. And there was, I want to say, there was a LARP at Hammer Hall in Jacksonville back when Hammer Hall still existed, sadly. And then yeah, actually I think that was after FSU. So I think FSU is where I picked it back up in a serious way with the LARP out there, which was a great deal of fun, and I learned some evil Tremere tricks from a great mentor. Then took that to Jacksonville, and then down here to Fort Myers.
Okay. All right. And when you came down here, we were playing a Dark Age game where you brought in a Khaldun Tzimisce
in full plate armor most of the
with Serendipity. By the way, they came down together to play in the game that I was
just in time for the world to end.
So I'm called the Gehenna Storyteller.
He's in rehab now.
No, I'm doing well. I'm not.
You haven't ended
Gehenna.
The world in a.
I think it's really funny. I think it's really funny that I had to wait for a system that has a literal Gehenna war running in the background for me not to focus on Gehenna.
That's your methadone. That's how you keep it out of your system.
That's how I just get my fix.
You just get your low dose there, so you don't have to end the world entirely.
I just mentioned the Gehenna war, and I'm like, okay, that'll get me through the session. No, that was very interesting though, having you guys come in as like a set of Tzimisce.
Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun doing the research on that, to be honest, because Dark Age games give you a chance to really delve into how different the mindset is back then, because the Dark Age people do not think like modern people, and when we got pulled into modern times by time travel.
Yeah, I've committed one of the sins of role-playing as I introduced time travel to the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fortunately, that didn't last too long because the world didn't. But it would have made a huge mess.
No, actually, you.
But I was working on.
Like, you can't say that in a Vampire the Masquerade game that often, that you won, but you won.
I mean,
you found the big bad of the game, the one who was causing the whole problem. And boxed him. Mm-hmm. Now, that did not stop the world from ending.
No.
But you beat my big bad. He beat Marcus. Which is...
Thaumaturgy's awesome. Path of Transmutation, most underappreciated path. Prove me wrong.
Definitely. Because you literally beat a character that I had been playing for over a decade that no one had ever beat. There's in social, mental, or physical combat. And it was a neonate Tzimisce who took out my, like, ridiculously elder Tzimisce at the time.
Yes.
Thaumaturgy. I'm very proud of you on that one. That's freaking crazy. So, favorite clan? Tremere.
Yeah. You can't deny that.
Why?
Well, the stereotype that I was told once online is Tremere is the clan for people who wish they were playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Or Star Wars.
They're not entirely wrong. Oh, well, yeah. Force push. Yeah. Emperor's lightning bolt. Screw you. Even to the extent of, there is that 5th level ritual that creates a flaming sword, which I was planning on putting on that umbrella North carried around everywhere.
Jesus.
And then just going completely Vader at the end of Rogue One and beating the trash out of somebody at some point. Aggravated damage from an umbrella.
My Tremere Harker,
aggravated damage.
When Harker was a player character, he had that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's 2 of those, folks. There's the temporary one, which is, I think, 1 to 3rd. There's one for crossbow bolts, and then there's the 5th level one, and that's the good one.
Yeah. So, least favorite clan? That is a hard
play
question.
Or... You know what? We'll just do an A or an B.
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Well, see, to play, that's a little hard to say because I haven't played most of the clans. But probably... Let's skip to B, which is least favorite to have anywhere around, which is Ravno. Fucking Ravno. All the goddamn time. Sons of bitches. You can edit that, right?
I might.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid for these yet.
You might have to bleep some.
I'm not getting paid for these yet. I don't care.
Well, when you get to your 1,000, you're just going to have to go over me and beep.
Yeah.
Beep. But, yeah, worst to play? I don't know. Because Ravno would actually be kind of fun to play.
Ravno are very fun to play.
Chymistry has all kinds of potential if you use it wickedly.
So is your interactions with Serendipity as Dawn in the game causing you to not enjoy Ravno as much?
Oh, no, I've always hated Ravno.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, no. They're generally dicks.
I've always loved them. I've always loved playing with them and playing as them.
the whole they're written out as a stereotype, and it's kind of awful.
You know what? That's actually the kind of interesting thing, is because they've evolved so much. Like
they have been working on
originally had a gypsy stereotype, which obviously is just it's low grade racism at that point. Unintentional, I assume.
Starting right at the word gypsy, which is a corruption of Egyptian, which the Roma are not.
Yeah. And then they went to being Hindi,
which is a little more accurate.
Again, became kind of a stereotype thing. But
then they all have to be thieves because of this.
There's your stereotype.
Your core racist stereotype.
But then they switched it over
back when that was fully implemented. The kind of people who would play that are exactly what you think.
But then now in V5, Justin Kelly rewrote them again. And
everything's better in V5 except thaumaturgy.
I'm really not going with that anymore. Like I was
as soon as they released the book.
I was on the bandwagon of thaumaturgy sucks in V5, but it's not the fact that those paths and those rituals don't exist anymore. It's just they're so much harder to get a hold of now.
And I can buy that. When you blow up the lending library system that was the pyramid that hard. But it's going to be a lot harder to get stuff.
I also think that leads credence to, like, maybe in a year or so we might get a thaumaturgy companion or something like that.
Which I volunteer to write if necessary.
Your arm's cut out.
There. I already basically wrote the thaumaturgy companion for V20. I just never released it because rituals are endless.
Yeah, no, this one wrote an amazing book that we pretty much ran all of our thaumaturgy through.
It's a 5-volume compilation of every path that was ever published, every ritual that was ever published, every path and ritual that was ever released under the heading of thaumaturgy for non-Tremere, and every magic item I could find. And also, what was 5? 5 was the rituals. Yeah, because you had like the Al Jazeera rituals and such. Technically Tremere compatible.
It was
because everyone can
very impressive and very helpful as a storyteller to have that on there. Okay, so what's your favorite edition? Because I know under me you've played 3 of them.
I have bits and pieces of some of the editions that I favor above others. So right off the top, first edition wins in a big way because Blood Mastery is still a path power in first edition, and it still makes sense. I know you house rule Blood Mastery as a ritual to be one that has delayed activation on it, but it just never made sense as written ever since they moved that. But aside from that, first edition, very unpolished.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what Blood Mastery is also, it's when you get a hold of a point of another vampire's blood. I guess in V5 it would be a hunger trait, or a hunger
rouse check. Rouse check worth of blood. That's how I phrase it.
But you basically, if you have that, you can force them to fail a test or do a simple action.
Automatically win against them.
Yeah, you basically make them fail in anything that you tell them to do.
It's why people to this day will tell you as soon as you get into a game, hey, don't let that guy get any of your blood.
Yeah.
Even though it hasn't been usable in that aspect for probably like 20 years.
Since the first edition. It is, seriously, that one power, the first level of Path of Blood thaumaturgy originally was the reason why you fear Tremere today. Like, that is, well, not anymore, but...
But, aside from that, 5th edition, I really do think is probably my second favorite of all time. I did like the V20 edition because it's very number-based. It's very crunchy. The people took the time to look at the math and try and make sure things were balanced correctly. Yeah. But what it does for approaching the crunch of the game correctly, V5 does more on the fluff side.
Yeah.
So if there were hypothetically some bastard love child of the two, that would be the Ultimate Edition.
I could see that. I'm not big on...
Because the V5 people screw up the crunch a lot of places.
Well, the V5 people who used to be screwed up the crunch. You got to really the
V5 would really benefit from an overall cleanup effort to make a 5.5 edition if there were enough ground support.
The only reason I think that hasn't happened yet is because they don't want to release a V6.
It's a little soon for that. But literally, like, the combat rules are page 125 and 300.
Yeah, the
Put those together.
organization needs to be redone on that.
A lot of things are in 2 places in that book.
Yeah, I'm not. I love V5. It is probably my
Oh,
overall favorite edition, but I gotta say it is.
They do a great job, but it had editorial problems.
It is definitely a jigsaw puzzle that's fun to play with, but not as bad as Fall of London was.
I'm pretty sure that we've already volunteered to re-edit that.
Re-edit that one, yeah, as soon as I have the time. Okay, so you like V1?
V1 has that one factor there,
Okay.
because I think that change was to remove that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Or at least to remove that and not explicitly type into the ritual rules what you have said about having it be a delayed activation.
Yeah. Basically, I said that you could do it as a ritual like you typically would any other ritual, but you can have it happen whenever you want. You basically just have to have the blood on.
Yeah, like extinguish or there's a whole comment.
Yeah.
In
that's true.
What is it? Lore sheet Carl Schreck. That video there. We've talked about it.
Yeah, the way the Carl Schreck lore sheet works, I think is it number 3?
I think it's the 3rd. Yeah.
The 3rd one allows you to basically say that you prepped a ritual ahead of time without actually having to spend the downtimes.
Although they goober up the writing on that one too, but.
I think it could have been written well, but I think the overall meaning of the lore sheets.
And I think it's a fantastic ability if you accept that those little patches are a part of it.
That's definitely
probably the only thing that you'd see on a Tremere sheet of mine.
So V8, vegan vampires. That's going to be that. When V8 comes out, Vampire 8th edition, everybody's going to be a vegan. Anyway, that goes well with my vegan zombies.
Yeah. What about the vegan werewolves? Leprechauns? Are leprechauns vegan?
That's a flaw. I think leprechauns are vegan.
Oh, okay.
They taste vegan. Anyway, so tell us about Sam.
Oh man, well, Sam was. It's really an interesting question how Sam ended up getting embraced. Let's just say in like outside of game terms, Sam was originally designed as a Brujah.
Yeah.
He's still got a lot of that core brashness in him. He's just gonna punch faces and ask questions later, if at all. Yeah. And so when people sit around asking questions, he tends to get bored and try to think of a way to start some shit.
Yeah.
Now that it's been found that he's actually Tzimisce, that has not changed much. Although he does have a little bit of a problem going on in the back of his head, which is he's been hacking for a long time, and kind of the core thing on hacking is if you have a straight line between any 2 points, they'll figure out who did it. So you need cutouts. You need to move through a different channels and erase as many records and obfuscate as much as possible. I mean, he carries that principle out even to as far as things like how he gets from his haven into the city each night. It's a process.
It really is.
It's a process because he will get in his car, and it's going to get worse. He'll get in his car, which isn't parked at his haven, but within walking distance. He'll drive in, park in a parking garage, duck out of the garage, go through an alley, switch clothes, move to a different parking garage, pick up the car he's going to drive around town, and then go.
He does have a little bit of paranoia.
Well, I mean, if you deal with
I'm not saying
digital world like that,
yeah,
you will develop it.
I'm not saying it's not justified for what Sam knows.
And with that anarch leaning of his, he does not trust any form of authority, so the increasing power and reach of authority concerns him.
Yeah.
Especially because what he does is explicitly illegal.
Yeah, it's really neat. Sam has this... it takes you a second to realize, oh, Tzimisce, not Brujah. But then when you get to know him, you're just like, stereotypical Technos? Like, you really do, like, you play him off as an Nosferatu with the amount of paranoia and the security and everything.
A little bit.
Which is always interesting. You're not a stereotypical Tzimisce.
No, he needs to get more into ownership, to be honest. But for the longest time, he didn't have anything to own other than his dumpster ball.
Yeah.
The dumpster ball
The
bears
dumpster
explaining.
ball. Yes, please.
Oh,
Yeah, because that actually happened before we started the recap.
Well, that also has to do with the lovely "Don't Panic, I'm a Professional Doorknob Collector" shirt.
Yeah.
What were we? We were dealing with the Camarilla in Sun City, the original city.
The original
game.
This game actually started in Sun City, Florida, a year before the game even started. Like we had been playing for quite some time.
Back during the heat of the pandemic, as it
was literally just
circuit.
Myself
and
Daviga and Serendipity. That was it.
So yeah, we were dealing with the cam at that time, and I forget what exactly was going on. I think we had just finished trashing that one Malkavian's club or something, and in an exercise of frustration and, hey, I have potence. One, he just said, well, f*** you and f*** your doorknob, and knocked the knob off there. And then decided to see if he could fold up the dumpster out back like it was a piece of tinfoil, which you can. Ever since then, he's been stashing loose cash, blocks of weed, whatever he found important to himself in that and carrying it around. I think he also threw it through a pyramid once from the inside, but that's a different story.
Yeah, Dawn's old
little
church.
Cult church that she had.
Oh my god. The Sun City Chronicles quickly adapted back into Thicker Than Water, which is my long-standing chronicle.
After we got ourselves run out of town.
After you guys got run out of town, I needed to put you somewhere because we didn't want to end the game yet, and also I had this itch of I can retell the story that I had worked on for so long in the V5 setting, which is so much. It's a vampire noir almost. It really is. It's so much darker and gritty. I really appreciate the grittiness. So, how do you feel about Sam's story so far?
Oh yeah, I was actually getting into some of the stuff on that, which is along with the paranoia and all that. Part of that also, he's now got the ability to change his own face at will, as well as changing his identity documents because he has Cobbler.
It's a great investment for Sam.
He, as you know, he's got a list of aliases a mile long because even as a mortal he was doing that. So the kind of the weird thing that comes up in his mind at this point and is growing and probably will grow and as a metagame note over time is what exactly is identity at a certain point. Because if you change your face at will, you change your identity documents at will, you change your location at will, what roots do you have? What actually, and that kind of comes down to, I think, your tenets.
I can see you falling ass backwards into Path of Metamorphosis.
That's where I actually was talking to you the other day about Path of Metamorphosis because I was processing that as a player and being like, that's what they're talking about with that because it's constant change. I mean, as it is, he's already pretending to be a couple of different people in the background.
Now, when it comes to Path of Metamorphosis and stuff, I plan on homebrewing that kind of thing anyway. We are going to be going over Paths of Enlightenment in general in Midnight Mass.
I'm still interested in seeing what the Path of Mithras might look like.
Yeah, the Path of Mithras, which was a good idea. But I am definitely going to be going over these Paths of Enlightenment, although they are inherently un-Sabbat when it comes to 5th edition. Those kind of paths that focus on the self and bettering yourself do not hold any place.
Not all characters. There's you still have Autarkuses, you still have Autarkai?
Is it, if it's Greek, it's Artakpode. Artakpode. I learned the plural for. I found the plural for Greek, and I've just loved putting that on everything now.
Yeah.
Octopode.
Yeah. Well,
that's legit though.
Oh yeah. If
octopus is a Greek root word, it's octopode. You could have been Levi the octopode.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, you would have to cut him up for that.
Possibly. But I
don't favor that.
These Paths of Enlightenment just don't meet into the ideals of 5th edition Sabbat, and I think that's actually one of the huge reasons why the Tzimisce backed out. They can't work on themselves, and that's what the Tzimisce are all about: is self-evolution.
And if if being in the Sabbat is now against basically your tenants, which are you going to pick?
Yeah,
You're going to retrain on a path that is incredibly dangerous.
A lot of people are really ticked off about the whole Sabbat. Losing the Tzimisce and
I like the new Sabbat. I really do.
They're still there. They just don't count themselves as Tzimisce and Lasombra anymore.
Yeah, well, it's not about what clan you are in the Sabbat. And the way the Sabbat works now, it really is more like a viral infection than anything.
Yeah.
You get a few spores show up in your city, or particles or whatever. They start clobbering people with shovels, and you got an outbreak. And then
it's a legit...
You kill most of them, sure, but if you scramble off into other distances and it just keeps going.
Yeah, they're a legit cult at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the whole medieval death cult thing was always there. Yeah. But they never really had the brainwashing.
But when you're getting
tactics.
Bishops settling down into cities and pulling strings and strategizing, that's just like
they're dirty cam.
This is the dirty cam. It's the anti-cam. What the new Sabbat really is something else entirely. They really are monsters.
Which I love. They're not two-dimensional as they are.
No, they have their own internal justifications.
Yeah, as they are.
It makes sense to them.
As they are in the book, they are presented as one-dimensional monsters, but you have to understand that the way that book is, it's how the other groups, the Cam and the Anarchs, see them. Like, they are the one-dimensional antagonist, and a lot of people were upset about them using the word antagonist, but the Sabbat don't wait for you to come. They go to you.
They start their crap.
They are the antagonists, even if you're playing them. You're playing an antagonist at that point.
Well, you got to go antagonize the camo over here.
Exactly. Anyway. Midnight Mass will cover all that stuff. I'm starting to get all amped up about that. So, about Sam's overarching story. Where do you think he's headed? And
other than an untimely demise, you mean? No, he really. To be honest, and I think I've mentioned this to you at the point before, but he's kind of at the point where he's questioning what he actually believes in, not just because of that identity sort of situation that I was talking about, but also his affiliations, because he comes from a background of, he was doing these things not just out of a sense of brashness and he's going to be a Brujonist, but he's got an anti-authoritarian strength a mile wide, and he really did believe, he's a very young man still, he really did believe in, kind of punk sort of principle, like he's pro-anarchy, literally pro-anarchy anarch.
But the anarchs aren't.
But the anarchs suck. He's realized that he's never going to see the camera overthrown in this city because his allies will not put in the blood, sweat, and tears that's needed to overthrow the Cam. He has every faith that with the people who are there in the party, it could be done. But at this point, he has no faith that they will actually do that. As it is, every time we get into a fight with somebody in the Cam or otherwise, it starts with a very long, protracted, let's talk to them while we have our guns out pointed, which is usually where he throws a grenade just to try and get the party started. Because he doesn't think negotiating with the Cam is how we're going to solve this.
Don't solve problems.
It creates a new problem. Yeah. Well, he's trying very hard to just keep rolling those dice until the problem he has is hiding their bodies.
Now, we have not released the new... I haven't released the new the recap yet, but you recently had an interaction with the Camarilla that's put you on the fence about some things. Maybe not completely, but I don't mind if you say anything about that. This is actually it's an event.
Okay,
it's an event that I actually got from somebody else, name above. And they run a site called Geeky Vengeance on Facebook, and it's an amazing, amazing group. But they actually, I think a friend of theirs, which is how we ended up getting acquainted, shared this story called Strawberry Syrup. And it is I'm not even going to go into the details of it.
Sounds like anime.
It does. But the story was so captivating. It's short. It's only like 3 paragraphs long.
Oh.
But it has...
It's got a lot baked in.
It shaped my story. It's shaped parts of the way that I'm running the Camarilla now, just because of this. So Yeah.
Well, anyway, what happened on that? I mean, first of all, it's pretty obviously a honey trap, logically, and a honey pot, I should say. And if it's not, it's probably going to be, and it's probably going to expose him to blackmail and problems and so on down the road, which he's going to walk face first into.
Okay.
But the thing is, he's been trying to make any contact, any kind of real friendship or connection with somebody, for God's sake, who isn't a vampire. He's just very, very, very tired of vampires.
But this whole thing does give you that opportunity.
And now, thanks to the Camarilla's auspices, he's made what he thinks is a meaningful connection with a mortal who shares interests, and now it's hard to hate them as much all of a sudden. So that kind of goes into the whole thing. He doesn't really know where he stands with himself or with others at this moment, and he's going to try and smoke that problem away, but it's going to keep gnawing on him.
But that was actually my whole idea with the whole thing. The idea that there are parts of the Camarilla that might be a good idea, and that weaseling into an Anarch's head plants that seeds of doubt, especially since you're a Tzimisce. That's hilarious.
Plus that whole you can't be a vampire without rules bit. It's kind of realistic.
Billy Smith is a good prince. It's really hard for a lot of people to accept that, but like he was never built as a major antagonist character. Like ever. He literally when I created Billy Smith, I found the legit human Billy Smith. Like, he was a real person in Portland, Oregon. He used to run underground fight clubs. It was amazing. But I built him as a character originally to just be Rose Dracon's bodyguard. And everybody thought they had some kind of torrid love affair behind Anton's back and stuff, which never existed. They were just really good friends because they were embraced around the same time period. And
it doesn't matter what the facts are. It's what the Harpy said the facts are.
But giving him the ambition to become the prince, to dethrone Merrick because he thought that Merrick wasn't doing a good job, not because he wanted to be prince, but because he thought he would be better. Just really kind of threw people off from what he originally was. But then also he became target prime. Everybody hated him. He was the big bad guy. But, like, usually when people run Camarilla, or they run Anarch, or they run Sabbat, it doesn't matter. The Camarilla is always set as this evil, dark, espionage-filled organization when they've got their fingers in a lot of pies. Not just darkness and evil and espionage. They're doing a bunch of stuff.
Well, I'd say their thing is mostly upholding the status quo. And it's just a fact that you can't uphold the status quo without upholding the injustices of the status quo, but also whatever benefits there are in the status quo. That's just life.
And when feeding becomes dangerous,
everything
because
becomes dangerous.
Some random gang of anarchs is doing a bunch of stupid stuff that makes
I don't know who you're talking
hunters show up. Damien.
God damn it, Damien.
Oh my god, I cannot wait to have everybody see the new recap because of Damien's stuff last game.
Oh,
that was funny.
Everything's
oh my god,
man.
All right, so what else have you played, and what can you tell us about them?
Oh, like other characters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we kind of already went over some of this. Yeah. So I had that Ventrube. That was one night, so it really didn't go very far. He just established a haven and did a feeding scene, really. Let's see. We had... Tobias Reed was probably my first decent vampire character, and that was in Jacksonville.
I love that name.
Yeah. He was a Tremere, of course. Actually, I had him running around in a lab coat.
He sounds like a Johnny Quest villain. He really does. You hear like I think it's because there was a guy named Ezekiel Rage.
Oh, okay. But yeah, he was getting into Green Path and Elemental Mastery and such because he was a real investigative type. And if you get Herbal Wisdom, Wooden Tongues, and Eyes of the Sea, you end up being able to land at most of your mystery scenes and just immediately start asking witnesses like cobblestones and dandelions and such what's going on.
That's why I love animalism so much, because if you're smart about it, you can find out what happened through animals.
Unless some jackass with a helicopter shoots all the horses, anyway. no witnesses.
Oh God, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh God, we had like this massive scene that happened in like they're just horses for some reason. I don't remember even why.
It was the Samedi had like a mansion on the end
Oh,
of town.
that's right.
Yeah, and then and somebody showed up and gunned them down, and then North ended up out there checking out the scene and decided to execute the horses because no witnesses.
That's right. Yeah, that was very interesting. That was there was a Zamedi, not really a baron. He wasn't an anarch. He wasn't Cam. He was just kind of like a crime boss for the area. He was
called the Baron, but I always assumed that was a Samedi title rather than an anarch.
Yeah, it was not an anarch title. But yeah, somebody came in, killed him and everybody.
Yeah.
Burnt down his house.
No, the house wasn't burnt down yet.
Oh, you burnt down the house. That's right. Yeah, they murdered everybody in the thing, and then North shows up and goes, well, people could talk to horses.
Oh, people could talk to the house, too. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's true. That was such an interesting character, too. I was really sad that died out as quick as it did.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
He lived.
Yeah.
As soon as everything was going on, he went ashes to ashes. And
and then there was always that door down in the basement that we never really got through.
That was 20th anniversary edition.
Yeah. But I was trying to say, so Tobias, so he was, trying to poke around at the mysteries. There were a couple of things that happened. He actually got in pretty good with the werewolves. He showed up in game.
Stop.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, Stop. It happens. He showed up in game right after the vampires did something to screw up some sort of a city park that I wasn't there for that, so I don't know exactly what happened. But literally, like, the Camarilla promised to take care of it and fix it, and you know which one vampire actually showed up every night for cleanup?
Yeah.
Only the Tremere. Nobody else put their in-week actions towards cleaning up that place, so I ended up literally holding a boon from the local guru.
Nice.
Yeah. There was some interesting stuff there. A Salubri showed up one night, and so that was like a dial out to 1-800-KILL-TEAM, and he started putting together a truck bomb and stuff, but he left before I could get it done. We had some problem with the Fae, and I mean, I think at that point, that game, I just had to duck because I out of game had to move for school at that point. Yeah. So but it was a little interesting, and that was me getting my teeth really in on Tremere for the first time. Then let's see. After that, there was the game in Tallahassee. I had a mentor for that, which was helpful. Guy had been a high-level Tremere for a long time. Taught me the incredible value of using heightened senses to read over people's shoulders and listen in on other conversations that you shouldn't hear about. Constantly spying on everybody is well worth it. That's where that Nosferatu thread that runs through all my characters gets its start. He also had a house rule thing where he had Savantum, which was like a potent version for thaumaturgy specifically, which I always thought was a lovely idea. But I mean, Tremere's already an OP clan, so. I think my best moment with that character, my best two moments with that character were, one, we had to sneak a body out of somebody's apartment for the usual sorts of reasons, and I needed to keep a Malkavian distracted. I had a Hand of Rooter, which anybody who's not familiar,
Rooter's hand.
It's a horrifying ritual where you cut off your own hand, pluck out one of your own eyes, smack the eye on the hand, and then animate it, and it scuttles around and looks for you with that one little eye.
You have
you
thing
can grow
from the
everything
Addams
back.
family.
You're a vampire. Enough Vitae will fix that. But I had that Rooter's hand. I just took it out from under my shirt, put it in a sack, and said, "Hold this." And he just held this thing while it squirmed. And I knew he wasn't moving because the hand could see that he didn't do anything. But it kept him occupied for 5 minutes while I snuck in. I had obfuscate on my sheet. And out with the body. So, good move there. It really unsettled him. Because, if nothing else, it wasn't any Malkavian brain whatever. It was literally like a squirming sack.
Just a bag that was moving
When your
around.
local wizard hands you a sack that's squirming and says, "Hold this."
your local wizard.
Yeah. No, I think it's screwed with him. Well worth it.
I just have that endgame. I've got that endgame quote in my head. These are aliens who have come to Earth to steal a magic necklace from a wizard.
Accurate. Oh my goodness.
Whenever you get wizards involved, things just get weird.
I think the other really good moment we had there was we were like in a not quite a basement, but a subgrade parking garage level at the time, and when like we had some sort of masked idiot vigilante running around the city.
I hate it when players come in with vigilante.
That wasn't a player. That was an NPC. But that was our problem at that time. Was we had this masked vigilante running around causing ruckus, and phew, there goes the masked Avenger past the doorway. I jumped up onto the railing, nailed a balance check, which was pretty tough, and hit it with Theft of Vitae.
Okay.
Didn't know for sure it was immortal, but I hit it with Theft of Vitae, and it went down. Boom! Fix it.
Oops.
All I had to do was jump up a yard and land on a banister, keep my footing, and cast the spell. Yeah.
I want to point out that I don't mind vigilante characters. I mind blatant rip-off characters of like Marvel and...
Castiliano. I didn't say anything.
Yes, Matt. Don't bring the Punisher into my game. Josh.
Or come up with a more hidden name.
Josh, don't bring in Iron Man or Batman or Neo from the Matrix. Just, come on, man.
What if Sam makes an Iron Man?
No. Hey, I could have brought in an Iron Man Zemeckis, who was going to turn his car into his Iron Man suit, but I chose not to, for the integrity of the game. Because there's not much.
Car into an Iron... What happens if you're inside a Transformer when it transforms?
The idea was I was going to go into horde form in the car, but it had like these... It had like joints so that they wrap around his body when he... Yeah.
Oh, so it's just a
I can think of crappy shit too.
Yeah.
I don't use them because of the integrity of the game. They're very little integrity, and we need to not stomp on it. Any other characters?
Let's see. I mean, we were trying to say what are all the characters, so you can always trim this down.
Yeah,
but
probably won't.
Let's see. So after Tobias, I forget what his name was actually. I've got the sheets still. I keep all my sheets. Yeah. Then let's see. Then we were down here.
Okay, that would be your Zemeckis.
And yes, that was Fiver de G. I had his whole title listed out in Hungarian on the sheet.
I was impressed by that. You put a lot of work
something
into that.
Baron de Nold, Ordo de Krul, and which literally like translated to Baron of Nowhere and stuff, because he lost his shit in the first game.
Yeah.
We lost our barony to the freaking Tremere. Of course, I was playing it Zemeckis because you literally told me I wasn't allowed to play it.
I was doing a War of Omens thing where the big bad guys of the game, of the campaign, were the up and coming Tremere. So that's why.
Yeah. But, I mean, let's see. We had a lot of stuff go on. I think probably the highlight on that one was helping with Gwen's... I think he was a warrior salubri at the time, which is all the more fun because he had Valorant on whatever it was. I know he had Valorant, but he was going to strike down... I think Matt was actually playing a Bali at that time, and I buffed him for that and got involved. But beyond, and then the other thing that we really had happen was the boxing incident.
The boxing
incident. Boxing Day.
Where you got
putting Maquette in a box. I was trying to lower that box into a bonfire. That didn't work, but the boxing part worked great.
What power did you use for that?
That's Gale. Or Gale. Actually, I think it's probably pronounced jail. G
makes sense.
AOL is old timey for jail, I think.
Okay.
It's the 5th level Path of Transmutation power. It makes a box that's just literally, you made it out of air, compressed to the point where it's literally unbreakable.
Yeah, he trapped my incredibly ridiculous elder. If you guys want me to go into that story later, I can. I'm not going to start because it's so long.
Marcus has
Marcus,
everything.
Marcus had this necromancy ability that made it so that any fire damage he took was rounded down to bashing, and then his fortitude negated bashing damage. So he was completely inflammable. And then
inflammable means flammable.
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
He was non-flammable.
He was non-flammable. He was unaffected by the flam.
There you go.
You could not flam this man. But he trapped him in a box and just left him there. I was like, well, enjoy the end of the world.
He was busy taunting us about having caused the end of the world. I mean, everybody else. That was actually a very Sam moment too, because
precursor.
Marcus was standing there taunting us about he was going to end the world and screw you guys or something. I forget the exact particulars. It's been a while now, and everybody in the party was just kind of standing around until Favera is like giving the speeches like, he's gonna kill us. Get him!
I think you're killing my head, the mic.
Do something!
Yeah, no, you actually ended up, since you were unable to kill Marcus, you actually, we were doing a Ragnarok storyline on that one, and in Ragnarok, after the world ends, 2 humans survive.
Loki deliberately crashing his fingernail boat onto every single thing to slow it down.
Yeah, he really didn't want to end the world.
He was literally slow boating it.
He was forced. But you ended up making it so that Marcus was literally the only vampire on Earth. You made him into the new Cain into that storyline.
I'm sure that worked out just as well as the first time.
Which means any vampires after that, it's just a world of Tzimisce.
Yeah,
who have access to all the disciplines because Marcus had pretty much everything. I earned those.
How do you know
in game?
Time is circular, man. How do you know Cain isn't a Tzimisce who's got everything on his sheet?
It's true. You could have actually just been Cain.
You just need to throw a little level of allegorical, amnesia into there, and then you've got the Book of Noah.
Marcus walked with a cane. Maybe
Yeah.
it was just a description.
Well, I mean, they always called the Emperor of Japan the Mikado, which literally means like that's the name of the screen in front of him because you don't refer to him. God, that could happen.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
So if North does it,
he would be Cain the storyteller because Marcus just liked to talk.
Did you ever wander around? Cain the Wanderer, Cain the Storyteller. What's the next Cain after that? Huh?
So after your...
And then we had Fiver. Okay, so we had Fiver. The world ended. Let's see. What the heck happened after that?
I think next was when you introduced Dr. North.
I
think that's when we actually got...
It's hard for me to say, but for a long time, #1 favorite character in any game system. Honestly, Sam's given him a run for it at this point. Yeah,
I'm kind of happy about that.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Well, Sam's a lot of fun to play sometimes. Not for everybody, but for the player.
I think Sam is a wonderful introduction. I think Sam is a wonderful part of this coterie. I think this coterie is.
I'm just saying, ask Damien how fun he thinks he is right now.
Oh, David's enjoying the hell out of this.
Good. I said Damien. Damien's not.
True.
So yeah, North. Oh man, North was a complicated piece of work.
But you played in several iterations.
Oh yeah, he's been sequelized and prequelized and everything a couple times.
Every once in a while, I'd start a campaign and just be like, guys, bring in your favorite character.
And then I would whine. And then kick a fuss and play North again. North's thing. Oh man. So he was truly he's one of the most long-running characters I've had. It's clearly the most incidences, and he was the oldest character that I've run. I think, because
the elder.
He dates from around the time, just a little bit prior to the Convention of Thorns. Tremere. I actually found his entire backstory is. He's got a village which no longer exists called West Backworth. I think West Backworth, something like that. I've got it in my files. Yeah. But there's actually such a place. I have photos of it, and he would periodically go into a spell where he would, hide out in his basement and mope and cry over the fact that no one he knew from his village ever, lived at all.
Yeah.
Except his retainers, which is why he would lose it so much when what was his J.R.R. You remember you blew the legs off of one of them, who was because his major domo brought that truck in and it blew up, or a package or something in the no, he brought a package in that was outside.
He got
blew up in the chantry
shrapnel.
garage.
He got severe shrapnel.
And he lost his legs, and North lost his shit because he's the only surviving person from that village. Because
he lived,
but he got embraced. That was the only way to save him. And let's see, but yeah, he was embraced in the Dark Ages. He's still got a Dark Age mindset. He is thoroughly convinced that the truth of the world is what he was told. He is literally damned. Yeah. Literally going to hell. So the only option he has is to stay alive as long as possible, because if he gets killed, he is damned for all time, and he will go to a literal hell with a literal pitchforked imp to.
Yeah, that was actually kind of interesting to see you play a Dark Age Christian Tremere.
Mm-hmm.
Who was just trying to stave off death as long as possible.
Well, the only reason, and if he wasn't damned for being a vampire, he was damned for practicing witchcraft, and he knew it. The only reason but then at that point, he's like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. So he leaned in on the thaumaturgy, because you can't get double Inferno.
Yeah.
And it is useful in saving his hide on so many occasions.
Yeah. Like
when somebody bombs the place and he has to teleport down into the tunnel network. That happened. But yeah, not movement of the mind. Path of Mercury was kind of his signature thing. He could.
My fault.
Yeah.
My fault.
Yeah. What? You didn't think that would be game altering to let me have the ability to teleport 10 yards?
So the Tremere, if you're playing or running a game that has Tremere in it, and it's old school. It's not 5th edition, but like the older storyline.
When the actual paths exist.
Yeah, when the Chantry system was still up and running and the pyramid was a thing. The Tremere should always be told to do something. There needs to be some kind of there needs to be a directive given by the higher offices, and North was charged by my dumbass to learn all of the thaumaturgy paths that were dedicated to the Greek pantheon, or the Greco-Roman pantheon.
Yeah, path of Jupiter, path of Mercury, path of
path of Jupiter Neptune, being Leavenbolt.
Neptune's my path of Mars. That
dumb.
One would have been hard to get a hold of.
That was Sabat.
Yeah,
that was actually the point.
Here's where I want to take a moment to say path of Mercury, most underappreciated path. It is a Tremere path. Check, I think it's Blood Magic Secrets of Thaumaturgy. It distinctly says in the description.
It's an awful path for a storyteller.
Oh, it's amazing.
Awful path.
At higher levels, I could have teleported myself to orbit. You realize? It's only a mile up there.
It literally is just teleportation. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Now, we threw on there a little bit of a patch so that if you were teleporting somewhere you couldn't literally see, you could splinch yourself, to use Harry Potter terms. So he got himself with it, like he got his foot stuck in walls and things every now and again and had to cut the foot off.
Yeah.
But
that was needed. That was needed.
Oh yeah, definitely. But never underestimate the value of being able to teleport even just 10 yards, especially if you can see somebody getting ready to pull the explosive vest trigger and you can teleport straight down into the tunnel network that you dug under that building for that exact reason. Yeah,
it was effectively just a instant wherever you want to go escape to a true friend.
So, you want to know why that was one of my top picks? Jail.
Yeah.
There's two things you can really do, three I should say, that you can really do when you get caught in jail. One is you can teleport out of there, Path of Mercury. Two, you can, or certain rituals. Two, you can counter magic your way out of there by just disrupting it. Or three, you can chill with that and decide that you're going to invoke various damaging paths that don't require line of effect, to use the D&D term. Like, you can't use Flame Bolt, but you could use, Immolate or something that fills the entire room with sheets of flame. Because you don't have to have a line between your finger and there that's unobstructed. You just have it happen. So, that's kind of why I actually thought of that at that time. North did a lot of crazy stuff. Mostly, we already talked about the mirror teleportation abuse. He was working on making like a laser cannon where it would just be mirrors in Australia that focused through there into fiber optics around the Chantry that you could just point at people. Anything creative and awful that you could do with thaumaturgy, I was probably working on it. He had his dragon. He had his meat dragon.
Stupid meat dragon.
House of Tremere has a ritual, along with the gargoyle ritual, has one of those that works for animals, and you can make all kinds of stupid shit out of that. Nobody in game ever saw that. He did. He kept it in the basement because it was a huge masquerade breach. If anybody had ever tried to breach the Chantry, they would have had a hell of a time. It had like the enlarged bombardier beetle glands in its throat and everything, so it could literally shoot explosive steam bursts.
It was literally a freaking dragon made out of meat.
Mostly dogs, and armadillo skin and a few things. It had a lovely singing voice. It did. We would do duets because North got bored.
Now, you and I actually had probably one of the most intense moments in role-playing while you were playing Dr. North.
I would have said Doc. Which one are you thinking?
I don't remember who I was playing.
Peter Zoom?
Yes!
Peter Zoom!
I was playing the NPC Peter Zoom, the Child of Hardestead, and there was a "this is how things are gonna be" moment. And Dr. North did not see eye to eye with the Ventru.
Piece of shit. You don't even know.
We got into it so bad that people were coming up to us asking if we were fighting out of character.
That was not the only time that we had outside intervention, though.
Yeah.
Because the other thing was, like I said, Doc, because he was doing his freaking werewolf Doc. Shaman.
Love you, Doc, but oh my God.
He blew up the game at the end.
He really did.
What was it? He miracled Zemetsi's beast away posthumously, retroactively, or something, right?
Okay, so, oh God. We had, dude, I went off the rails as a storyteller back then. I've calmed down quite a bit since I've been able to get a lot of the craziness out of my system. But,
you only had to destroy the world twice then.
We actually did the, we did the church scenario in the Time of Judgment book where they're locked in a church because of wormwood, the flood that only affected vampires.
I think that probably plays better on tabletop than LARP.
It does. It was a very interesting game, though, but they actually did play out a 40-night cycle of them being stuck in this little tiny church. It was a bottle month of game with a gargoyle, the last daughter of Eve, and just some random NPCs I threw in. But it ended up all being just... I
don't think anybody killed
mass hallucination kind of thing. It was effectively chemistry being used by a
fucking Rav now.
It was actually it was a use of chemistry being used by an incredibly ancient kindred. I actually had brought Enoch in.
Enoch. Oh my God.
And he was just projecting it. He just wanted to see what the vampires would do with that. Because he is famously the vampire who was able to get rid of his beast. And it was a whole thing. I will, again, this is another story that if people want to hear, please let me know. Because it was amazing. And it was emotional.
I think Nate had the MVP. Steven. Oh, okay, sorry. Steven had the MVP moment on that one.
He really did. He ended the plot line. And in a beautiful way. But because I had him in there, I had this thing where, like, there weren't that many humans. Like, everybody's like, where'd all these other people in the Bible come from? They weren't human. Like, they were things that had inhabited the earth. There's a lot of stuff
wandering around back in the day.
Yeah, and what I had said was Enoch was something that I had made up called a planeswalker. Where he basically...
Which, that's very much a Magic the Gathering concept.
Yeah, I think I got the name from that. Yeah. But the idea was that he existed on all realities at the same time. And he had to stop every once in a while and go, wait, what world am I in now? Like, he got very confused from time to time. Very fun. But he also had been torpid since Enoch, since the city of Enoch.
A little
since the flood. So, like, everybody was like, blah, 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 Setites. And he's like, what the heck is a Setite? Yeah. Like, he didn't know what all these things were.
What's a Giovanni?
What is a Giovanni?
What's a Tremere? What are you?
But he had
Why am I in your living room?
Since he could slide between dimensions and stuff like that, he also, since time is just a dimension, he was able to slide back and forth into any time period he wanted to. Also, and this is actually one of the big reasons why time travel became a huge thing in the game. Yeah. But we had a werewolf who was I want to say he was a lupus.
Doc's character?
Yeah, I think Doc's character was a lupus. And he had true faith in Gaia.
Spades.
He had true faith because the werewolf storyteller allowed that. And because it was actually two games. It was a werewolf game and a vampire game that were running with each other.
That was fun.
But
how many times did North betray the vampires to the werewolves?
Oh my god.
Constantly.
Stop it with the werewolves.
Constantly.
But Doc had basically earned a boon from Enoch. So he slid. He said, "Where do you want to?" He's like, "Where do you want to go?" And he's like, "I want to go where the source of all of this trouble started." And he was talking about like the vampires. He's like, "All right, well, I'll take you there, but I really don't think there's anything that one puny little werewolf can do." So he's like, "Whatever," because he was a cub, and
around and find out.
The new family motto. So he time slides effectively back to Enoch. And they're just wandering around the city full of gods, effectively. And it was right at the point in time where Enoch was performing the ritual to get rid of his beast and give it to Tzimisce. Like, because that's the whole storyline, is that Tzimisce was a...
double beast action.
Tzimisce was like basically like, he was a proto-Egyptian... He was a proto-Egyptian mage who was a follower. I don't know if he was a ghoul, but he was a direct follower and servant of Enoch. And he took the beast, and the idea was kill him. Like he was gonna take the beast, and then Enoch's free of the beast, and we just kill this raving monster. But his will was so strong that he survived, and that's where vicissitude came from.
It's the
the fact that he has two beasts. That's what makes a horde form and stuff. The miracle that Doc decided to play, and we ran by book rules, and truthfully, the curiosity got to me. I was like, let's just see what happens. Was to make it so that the ritual didn't work.
Oopsie.
He just canceled the ritual.
It's not that big of a reach for a miracle, to be honest.
So, no, it was actually a very, very simple miracle. It was just done at the worst time.
Sometimes you just gotta push that domino.
It's all about location, people. It really is. But, so we ended up running a world where vicissitude didn't exist.
Yeah.
Which changed a lot of stuff.
So, in other words.
Werewolves won pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Pretty darn well.
Yeah, he won.
Yeah. Damn it, Doc.
Oh, God, Doc. But yeah, no, the other thing that got outsiders asking, like, if everyone was okay and everything was, he talked to North at one point. And they were getting into it, and he's like, "Do you have someone you miss?" And da da da. And he like did a ritual to set his North's now dead betrothed free, and North lost his shit. I played that to the hilt, and yeah, people were like, "What is going on over there?"
Yeah, no, you actually were talking. I believe that was when you were talking to Doc and like a priest.
Oh yeah. He was because North was going. North was
going to church.
Going to church. Well, he wasn't going to church. He's not allowed in church, but he was going to confession.
Yeah.
Yes, because he's a good Catholic from like 1200 or something, and it's very important to go to confession. Why? I mean, you're still damned anyway, but still.
Still going through the motions.
Still going through. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 836 years since my last confession.
Hope you got some time to bring some crackers.
I have sinned mightily. I have performed witchcraft. I have killed this many people. Yeah. I committed diablerie that one time.
Oh God.
Yeah. I've still got the paperwork on that. That's one of the things he got pushed through mostly Mistress Franchen got pushed through during the Council Convention of Thorns, was to get his official sanction and forgiveness for that. Significantly missing the Gangrel signature.
Yeah. So, if you could meet and spend time with any canon character, who would it be and what would you discuss?
Canon as in not your characters.
Yeah, not my NPCs. If you could, like classic World of Darkness.
To be honest, if you meet with any of them, you're in some shit because there's a vampire that you're literally asking to meet with a cannibal.
True.
Who looks at you and sees the same.
Okay. You're not gonna get eaten, guaranteed.
Well, see, now is that necessarily what I want here? Because there are some very big advantages if you get embraced afterwards.
That's true.
But no, maybe Hesha. Hesha, because reading as you know, I've read the first clan novel compendium like four or five times now.
Yeah.
And half of the second one twice.
Gotta finish
But
that.
over the course of that, Hesha seems like the most reasonable and interesting, level-headed vampire you're going to find in there. Other than that, I don't really have full familiarity with everybody else. There's probably some mages or something that I would really be intrigued by, but I don't play mage. I keep getting into vampire games, so no idea. Even the one that I know about on that, I would say, what's his name? White something or other. The joke character guy who's like a mage werewolf, rape and now an ashtray. That's Samuel Haight. That's the only mage's name I know. Other Tremere, I guess.
Merlin.
But
Merlin was a mage.
Oh, okay. But I know literally nothing else about that. Tremere doesn't strike me as such a nice guy. I don't know that I'd want to meet him.
Okay.
Aisling
Sternbridge, I'd meet her.
I think interesting, but I don't know that, I don't know. She seemed kind of cold.
She's got great stories, though, and she likes to tell them. That was actually
literally the devil is involved.
Yeah,
literally the devil.
Some random demon.
So very interesting. Yeah. Oh, was it? Oh, okay. I
think he was called the devil, but I don't think it was Lucifer.
Well, probably not. That's probably just like all World of Darkness stuff. It's just presented from the mindset and point of view in universe.
She's just a very interesting person and kind. She's cold. She handles things, but she does have a tendency to lean towards the humane.
Oh.
So she'd be interesting to talk to.
I don't know. The impression I got, again, I only read so much of it, was that you could do that, but you're probably going to end up as rations or an experiment.
Sure.
So skip that.
Yeah. What is...
Not Cain. He's a terrible parent.
What's the meanest thing that I've ever done to you, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, you did stick us in that church. You ended the world twice. Let's see. Oh, man. You had every prince we've ever encountered. There's a lot of candidates here.
What?
What?
You mean every prince you've ever encountered?
Bateman, Nateman, even though that's a PC, I'm still counting it.
We had an NPC. I did not name my princes Bateman and Nateman. We had an NPC named Christian Bateman, who
North was instrumental in getting it.
It was a prince. It was a Toreador prince that was based off the character that Christian Bale played in American Psycho.
Yeah, I should have watched that
Patrick
movie.
Bateman.
I would have gotten the reference and known better.
It's better if you don't.
Let's see. Time travel. I was still listing. Probably the meanest thing you ever did was actually to let North drink from the Well of Erd, realize all the other Norths and characters that have gone through history, and then end that game.
I did not end that game. The world ended that game. I wanted to continue doing that. I really did.
We have a backyard.
No, we had this amazing plot line going on, and unfortunately the pandemic happened.
Yeah. That was my birthday, was the last game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very fun game. I was having it so that if anybody drank from this well, it caused them to have the memories of every character they've ever played in BTM.
Gwen.
So basically, it was the same person who was experiencing different realities.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Gwen got it.
Mm-hmm.
Nick got it. You got it. I think you three were the only ones who actually got a hold of it. And we were supposed to get the entire game to drink, and then it just didn't happen. The game ended.
Well, Enoch was crumbling. We had to run for it.
Yeah, that's true. But I kept the water.
Yeah.
All right, so I actually have an extra question that's not on our little list here. I think I'm just going to start adding questions every time I do an interview.
Well, I mean, we haven't even answered some of these. I mean, I certainly haven't finished listing off all the characters.
Okay, go ahead.
So, oh, you want to? Okay.
Yeah, go for
it. So let's see. North. We could talk for hours. We're not going to. After North, I think was Leviathan, Levi, the Nosferatu with the squid fingers. He didn't do all that much, but I found it. I think probably his best moment was in Obfuscate, crawling on the back of, was it Ryan? Whose bike was that? On the back of a motorcycle that a guy's driving off, because he can't keep up. He can swim through the canals fast, but not that fast. But crawling on the back there, getting spotted, and then just being like, and it worked. Dropped him right off where he wanted to be. I mean, what? That's on the SPC, because how cool of a cucumber do you have to be to look down and you see this squid thing adhered to the back of your hog, and you're just like, okay, let's do it. But he was 1980s. He was trying to do stuff like, get a better modem so he could hack things.
That was the
he was low money, low everything. He needed like $80 so he could buy a modem, put it in a trash sack, and dive through the lake to his haven.
Oh my God! There's Griffin.
There's Mr. Griffin, the corn dog guy.
The corn dog Tremere.
Yeah. That was how I coped with Morning After North, because you said I couldn't play him. He was allegedly a Tremere. He did.
This is another one that everybody thought was a Brujah at first.
Yeah, well, he was a ghoul. He was a Tremere ghoul. They kept him around because sometimes somebody will come to the chantry door who, in your erudite estimation, needs his legs broken. So you get yourself a ghoul who will take a lead pipe and break the kneecaps that you need taken care of. That was his basis. He was not supposed to be a Tremere. He was supposed to be a security puke for the Chantry. And then he got embraced and dragged into the Chicago Chronicle and everything.
Yeah, we were running the 1980s, or the early 1990s Chicago Chronicle, set in 92.
He had potence.
Yeah.
That's part of the whole thing. He had potence and a bad attitude. There's some of that legacy in Sam, of course.
Yeah.
Not so much on the corn dog thing. He never got over missing eating. It was a problem.
Yeah. That was a problem.
He missed actual food.
He used to break into
Piggly Wiggly, take cash register,
used to break
take
into
frozen
stores
food
and
section.
steal the frozen corn dogs.
And then eat them and then puke because you're a vampire now.
It's awful.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he also missed cigarettes, whiskey, women, gambling, and everything else. So.
Yeah.
But none of those.
But you were recently embraced. So you were recently embraced.
Oh yeah,
so I can understand the fight with
He was brand new. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and we forgot a significant North moment.
Oh, what?
A very significant. Remember when he decapitated Etrius?
Yeah. That wasn't canon.
That happened, and then threw a satchel charge through the door of Vienna while everyone was hibernating.
You were the reason the Tremere had gone extinct.
In your continuity, that whole Vienna strike was purely him.
That's not the game that we're running right now.
He was self-loathing. He did not like being a vampire. He did not like his clan. He did not like Etrius, especially because Etrius literally opened a portal to hell in the bottom of Seoris, and he knew about it. So yeah,
that is not in the continuity of Thicker Than Water.
No, that wasn't even in the continuity of your game. After a little while, because we got like a time travel reset.
Well, that was because of Doc.
Yeah, was that because of Doc?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Doc.
That was
the game didn't last that much.
That was the miracle. No, unfortunately, it did not.
It was just too much mess.
Well, we were having issues with like the werewolf game dropped off, and then a good handful of our players ended up moving at like once. Like they all just all of Clan Tremere.
Well,
like everybody who came in with a Tremere character moved.
Most of Clan Tremere did. See, you remember when you were saying a while back about how you need to have somebody to keep the Tremere busy so they can't get into shenanigans? I was doing that job for the other Tremere.
Yeah, you were my Tremere narrator.
I was making them take a syringe and like exsanguinate individual fire ants and stuff so that they wouldn't have downtime actions.
Yeah, if you are a storyteller and you have a significantly large game, that's a LARP. It works LARP
Give
specifically.
them a regent, have the regent send them on bullcrap errands constantly and keep them busy.
Let your, seriously...
You want your Tremere library card, you got to work for it.
Player character primogen that are narrators are awesome. You don't have to tell them the overarching story, and if they want to run the Toreador have decided to run a gala, let them run a gala. If the Tremere are going off
you
on
gotta
some
organize the gala.
Make sure they're not getting...
You got to get the venue, you got to get the act, you got to get the entertainment, you got to get security, you got to arrange
if you're running a big LARP with at least 3 to 5 people per clan, you should definitely have player character narrators that act as the primogen. It helps out so much.
Yeah, I kept them busy. They didn't really like that.
No. Not at all.
Nah. I always accepted that was part and parcel of being Tremere, though, because I'd already been through the system.
Yeah.
You want the library card, you're going to get, thank you, sir, may I have another.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite plot line that I've run you through? Since you've been through several of my scenarios. Man.
Well, I mean, the whole Fall of London thing was actually quite a mind blow.
When I put the book to the side.
Well, I mean, the fight with Valerius, for one thing.
I love that fight.
And just being other characters like that. I mean, that's part of that identity crisis thing that Sam's brewing on the back burner there, is now he's got the memory of being another person. And, well, he's probably got some other memories floating around.
You could, with Vicissitude, turn into Alice.
It's been considered.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. But let's see, favorite plotline. I mean,
not just restricted to this V5 setting. But
Werewolf Night was ambitious. It didn't work out, I know, like you wanted it in execution.
My help did not help.
It was an ambitious vision, and you didn't have what you needed to carry it out the way you wanted. Church, we got the whole Snow King thing was interesting. Honestly, I'm really interested to see how how the Enderman plotline.
Oh my God,
works out.
Enderman plotline.
Yeah. What? He came pretty close, and he figured it out that lightning fast too. Because he's a dork. What am I? I mean, I'm missing loads of stuff happen.
Well, I mean, let's see. There's the Gehenna plotline that was...
You're not going to get my vote on any
the Ragnarok storyline. There was...
that whole thing in New York where North built a tank out of a tractor and we were fighting Tzimisce.
Again, the Time of Judgment book has the Tzimisce antediluvian coming up through the ground and stuff, so... That was a fun...
goodbye, Masquerade. We loved you.
That was fun.
Yeah.
You did a really good job adapting.
Well, yeah, and
to No Masquerade.
He tried to throw that off. Well, that's the one time where he definitely tried to stab the werewolves instead of the vampires.
Yeah.
He tried to blame everything on it. He gave a secret CNN interview exposing the existence of werewolves because...
You called them demons.
Sure.
You made everybody on Earth think that werewolves were demons from hell.
Yeah. Aren't they?
I mean, I guess.
This is North.
You're not wrong.
Duh. They are. They're pagans.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's not wrong.
Yeah. Anyhow. Favorite plot line. Gosh. I know the most profitable plot line. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
Okay, let's narrow it down. What about at all the story arcs that I've run with the V5?
Oh, okay.
How about that?
The V5 story arcs, because that's fresher in memory.
Yeah. We'll just go ahead and say, just for I guess friendliness towards the viewers here, we'll just say from Sticks and Bones onward.
Well, Sticks and Bones was darn good stuff.
That was
really
fun.
Sticks and Bones shaped our game moving forward as well, and Sam's ideas too.
It really did build the coterie.
It threw the coterie together and gave us a job to do. And literally the concept of having jobs to do gave Sam a framework for how to interact with vampiric society that may well be his long-term way of doing it. Is just be literally like, I try to find jobs and do them. Which is going to make it easy to throw adventure hooks, admittedly, from this point forward. So I think that's really foundational, and yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
And we did spend so many weeks, like 3 weeks, trying to figure out what in the world was going on, but we were trying so hard.
Yeah.
So hard to figure out what the heck was going on. We had our theories, and we were... No, I'd have to say that really was an inflection point for this whole game, and a good module.
The Sticks and Bones, I did not... Like, I adapted it to being set in America instead of Moscow, and
it worked.
Or was it Moscow?
No, I think you're thinking. Wasn't it in Germany?
I think it's in Germany. Yeah, it's not Russia.
Munich or something.
Munich. Thank you.
Munich.
Yeah,
Starts with an M. Same thing.
Started like it's set in Munich, and
how many million people do you think I just offended? Same thing.
We're not trying to do that here, Sam.
That's good for him. We'll get in a fight. I'm going to punch them all. Potence!
No. No, I thought the whole interaction and the building of the plot line with Sticks and Bones was just a very interesting interaction, especially to be able to see a spiritual side to the Giovanni. You know?
Yeah.
Like now that they're the Hecata, it's still something that people are trying to deal with.
And also, we got some NPCs who I'm still at least trying to talk to in that work. So it added some people to the city who are, I think, valuable. Although I'm not sure if the Camarillas run them out of town yet, but
what's his name? The main Hecata from the group here.
Hiromitsu Asano. Okay.
He's actually.
You know how much I'm being Sam in game, and how much I pay attention to what's his name? Colin Mason.
Griffin.
Colin Griffin. See, I don't even have that name right. Hiromitsu Asano. That module made some impression. I know Mother Anya, Sal Putanesca. I know their names.
Well, Sal Putanesca is actually. He was an NPC of mine that I threw in there. He was originally Salvador Giovanni, and he was the capo. He was the leader of the Giovanni in the area. But I decided to go ahead and downgrade him to give him more of a dirty Giovanni feel.
Scott Dunsern.
Scotty! Scott.
And in this corner.
You can thank Nick for Scott.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, Nick, our new player who's will be in the next recap. But our new player was our old player, Nick, and they had Scott Dunsern was originally just like a little portion of their backstory, and it just erupted into this huge NPC, like Brittany.
Yeah,
Brittany was just a tiny little point
NPC
on a sheet that's just turned into
best NPC.
Yeah, I love Brittany. I love playing Brittany. She's a lot of fun. Both of them. Oh, Brittany 2.0. It's happening.
I imagine
it's happening in the background.
If nothing else, at this point, we've got GPUs, we've got RAM, we've got all we got all that stuff set up in his basement. Do
you want to tell anybody about that whole plan?
I'm still waiting to find out. I can tell you what happened, because this was quite some time ago.
Yeah, this was back in Sun City.
This has been running since Sun City. So I think,
in game,
I think
it's been like 2 years.
Yeah, the Ambrose story. Oh yeah, it has. And out of game, it's been about a year too. This is a long-running project, and we did in fact dig through the V5 project rules and get it run. And I lost some contacts over it, but still worth it. So among the other, now this is one of the more slightly sci-fi things that Sam has done, because there's a lot of realistic technology things when it comes to like Boo the laser. That's actually all realistic, and we've got the videos to prove it.
Yeah, that laser is awesome.
It could happen. But he's very much into neural networks. And way back 2 years, I suppose, in-game time ago, he took his Ambrose back door and got into Amazon and stole all the Alexa source code and started working on cobbling that together into his own AI, because he was impressed with Brittany and he needs a retainer. And
So we got Brittany 2.0.
And a little bit out of spite too, because I'm like, I can make a better one of these than you have. Meh. And started working on Brittany 2.0.
I love Dawn and Sam's relationship.
Which apparently there's some level of some of that got out into the wild somewhere, but we're gonna find out what the hell happened one of these days. The influence has already been felt a few times.
If you ever feel that Sam's getting away with stuff that even the highest technology should not be able to get him through, it's because he has help.
Also because literally I took every single advantage that you could possibly take that applies to that.
True.
That's where all my XP's been going.
True.
His roll pool, it can be as high as 17. Yeah. Actually, with Blood Buff, that would be 19 dice.
That's pretty insane.
He can throw 19 dice at certain problems when it comes to hacking.
That's really messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's literally going through the system and picking up every die I could find. He's very, very good. But yeah, even for him, he gets
so you can twink in V5 too.
Oh yes, you can.
Daviga's proved it.
How? Actually, I keep dropping little bits of how into the comments.
Yeah, that's true. And that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah,
Daviga is actually a very active community member too, so that's awesome seeing him on there. So if you ever see him on there,
I watch all the
Daviga31 is in fact.
I think it's Daviga1 on YouTube, but I mean,
is it?
On. Yeah.
Well, I've got you marked down under the credits.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
Daviga31.
I think it posts under Daviga1 as my YouTube.
Okay. Name. Well, if you see Daviga,
if it's Daviga and then something, you know who it is.
Yeah. So, I think that's about what we got. We've got about an hour and a half worth of material here.
And you probably want to edit that down a little bit.
A little bit. There's some yelling at the dogs because they wouldn't stop barking and stuff. But.
Bleep out some of the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might actually have to put some censor on this because I'm trying to be good for the YouTube.
Put the little button. It's good. It's fine. Just bleep it.
I'll find a duck quacking or something. Anyway,
release the quacking.
Yeah. So anyway, that is our interview. Do you have any final words you'd like to say out there to seriously the fans of Thicker Than Water? Because we have a lot of people who just really love listening to the recaps and
I do
love interacting with the players and stuff.
I don't know. You can talk to me on the comments. Like I said, I literally I make the time at some point to watch every one of these things, and I respond to stuff too. So yeah, if people like talking to us, talk away.
Yeah, I love how popular the recaps got, considering the fact that I was originally doing them as just a reminder for myself, so I didn't have to read through a bunch of notes.
It's so good. It's like listening to an audiobook for me now. But you know, I my one gripe is that YouTube, when you save it in there, it puts the new ones at the top. So every time I get a new recap, I have to delete all my downloads and then put them back in order.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, well, that's YouTube, not you. Yeah. But you know, if you play them in a row now, it's hours and hours of good stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Do it. Run up his play counts.
So, so yeah, that's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And thank you guys for joining us. 600 subscribers. Woo! We're actually, I believe, while I'm recording this, we hit 602.
Oh, cool.
At this point, still growing, still happy.
That's the star power.
Yeah. And it's great actually. Now that we have Nick as a player, we're gonna end up doing. We got you for 600. We're gonna end up doing Avalon, Tinia's player, is going to be 700. We got Gabriel's player, Gwen, who also played Deacon Royce, who's going to do 8. We've got now Nick, who's going to do 900, who, by the way, was my first ST ever. When I first started playing LARP, Nick was the one who ran everything. And then when our 1000 comes around, what I would like to do is back this camera up, put the green screen in the other room, set up a huge table, and do an open panel, possibly live on YouTube if anybody's interested in doing that.
I was about to ask if you were going to do like a Discord AMA or something.
Thinking about it. I want people to be able to interact and have that be a spontaneous questioning kind of thing. Put everybody under the hot lights. Yeah, that's what we're looking forward to. And the fact that we're already at 600 when I feel like we just did Serendipity's thing is amazing.
Yeah. So it's moving.
And it is December 30th.
For your channel.
We're actually going into the next year also. So holy God.
So do we get New Year's XP?
New Year's XP, not at all. So I am Voivode Maquette. This is Our World of Darkness, and this has been an interview with Daviga31, who plays Sam. And we cannot wait to see what's going to happen with you next.
Punching.
Punching.
Explosions. Violence.
Have a good evening, everybody.